Most tool advice tells you to keep them dry, wipe them down, don't leave them in the rain. That is not what this is. This is the audit. The metallurgical audit, the chemical audit, the corporate audit. Because the dirty truth is, if your tool was engineered to fail at year 3 to hit a retail price point, no amount of WD-40 is going to save it. But if it was built to a 100,000 cycle duty cycle, the right maintenance protocol will make it outlive you. This is how to actually make your hand tools last 30+ years, an auditor's guide. Let's start with a concept that professional mechanics understand, and retail buyers almost never do. The difference between wear and fatigue. Wear is inevitable. Every ratchet tooth, every socket wall, every wrench jaw will degrade over time. That is physics. You cannot stop it. What you can stop is fatigue. The premature, avoidable structural failure that happens when you push a tool beyond the engineering limits it was actually designed for. Here is the problem. Most people have no idea what those limits are. They buy a tool, they use it, and they assume that because it has a lifetime warranty stamped on the box, it is indestructible. It is not. That warranty is an actuarial calculation, a corporate bet that most consumers will lose their receipt, move house twice, or simply forget to claim before the tool fails. We covered the full financial model behind that in a separate video. The point here is this: a warranty is not a substitute for understanding your tool's actual duty cycle. So, what does duty cycle management look like in practice? Professional flat-rate mechanics, the people who genuinely depend on their tools for income, do not treat their ratchets like disposable items. They track use life. They know that a half-inch drive ratchet used daily on an impact-adjacent application is accumulating stress cycles at a fundamentally different rate than the same ratchet used twice a month on a weekend project. The most common way a home user destroys a quality tool is the cheater bar. You have a stubborn fastener. You slide a length of pipe over the handle of your ratchet to extend the torque arm. And in that single moment, you have just applied a load that the tool's geometry was never rated for. The internal Powell geometry, the tooth engagement depth, the drive square tolerances, all of it was engineered around a specific torque envelope. The cheater bar blows straight through that envelope. The audit question to ask yourself before every difficult fastener is simple. Am I using the right tool for this load, or am I asking this tool to be something it was never designed to be? If the answer is the latter, reach for a breaker bar. That is what it exists for. Now let's get inside the mechanism. Because the single most common cause of ratchet failure is hardened metal-infused grease, and almost nobody talks about it. Over time, the factory grease inside your ratchet head is doing its job, lubricating the Powell, the gear ring, the spring tension points. But every time you use that ratchet, microscopic metal particles from normal wear are suspended into that grease. Over months and years, that grease thickens, it oxidizes, it turns into a grinding compound. And now, instead of lubricating your mechanism, it is actively abrading it from the inside out. This is why a high-end ratchet that has never been serviced will eventually develop what technicians call slop. That loose, imprecise feel in the drive head. The gear engagement tolerance has been eaten away. Not by heavy use, by contaminated lubricant that was never cleared. The maintenance protocol here is not complicated, but it requires precision. You disassemble the ratchet head completely. You flush the mechanism with a clean solvent. Brake cleaner works, but allow full evaporation before relubrication. You inspect the Powell tip under good light. If the tip shows visible rounding or chipping, that ratchet has reached a service threshold. Relubrication will not fix geometry. If the Powell is intact, you repack with a thin film, high-pressure grease. Not a general-purpose grease, and absolutely not WD-40, which we will address in a moment. Reassemble, check for backdrag. That is the resistance you feel when reversing the ratchet direction. And verify that the gear engagement feels crisp and positive. If backdrag is excessive or the engagement feels mushy after a full service, the ratchet body has reached its structural duty cycle limit. At that point, the audit decision is straightforward. Rebuild kit if the manufacturer supports it, or retire the tool. Continuing to use a ratchet with compromised gear engagement under load is how you round a fastener at the worst possible moment. First, let's address the chrome on your hand tools. That mirror finish on your wrenches and sockets is not purely decorative. It is a functional corrosion barrier, but it is a brittle one. Chrome plating applied to hand tools is not the same as hard chrome industrial plating. It is a thin, aesthetic layer. And the moment that layer is compromised by a chip, a scratch, a chemical exposure, the base steel underneath is exposed and will begin to oxidize. When that rust appears, the instinct for most people is to reach for an acid bath. White vinegar, citric acid, muriatic acid, and yes, those acids will dissolve the iron oxide. But they will also trigger a process called hydrogen embrittlement that can permanently destroy the structural integrity of your tool steel. You have to understand that when high-strength steel is submerged in an acidic solution, the acid reacts with the metal surface and generates free atomic hydrogen. Because of its extraordinarily small atomic radius, that hydrogen diffuses directly into the crystal lattice of the steel. It migrates toward areas of internal stress, grain boundaries, microscopic defects, and there it combines into molecular hydrogen gas. That gas cannot escape. It builds internal pressure. It expands microscopic voids into micro cracks. The tool looks fine. It feels fine. You put it back in the drawer, and then 3 months later, you apply normal torque to a fastener, well within the tool's rated limit, and the wrench snaps. Clean fracture, no warning. That is hydrogen embrittlement, and it is irreversible. The industrial fix is a process called hydrogen bakeout, heating the affected steel to between 375 and 430 degrees Fahrenheit for a minimum of 1 hour per inch of material thickness. That drives the trapped hydrogen out of the lattice before it causes permanent microcracking. You are not doing that in your garage. The correct solution is to never introduce the problem in the first place. Use a chelating agent. Products like evapo-rust operate at near neutral pH. The active molecule selectively binds to the iron ions inside the rust structure and strips it away, without generating a single free hydrogen ion. The base steel is completely unaffected. 1 liter of evapo-rust can process approximately 300 grams of pure dry rust. It is non-hazardous, it is reusable, and it will not destroy the metallurgical integrity of a tool that took decades to build. Once you have clean bare steel, you have approximately a 4-hour window before flash rust begins in a humid environment. What you apply in that window determines the next decade of that tool's life. Let's run the audit on the 4 most common options. WD-40. The original formula is a water-displacing solvent. It is exceptional at flushing moisture out of a mechanism. It is a poor long-term rust preventative. The carrier solvents evaporate within days, leaving a hygroscopic residue that actively attracts atmospheric moisture. If you store a tool treated with WD-40 in a humid shop, you are accelerating the oxidation cycle, not preventing it. Paste wax. Carnauba-based, silicone-free, creates a hard, non-reactive physical barrier. It is ideal for handsaws, plane beds, and precision measuring tools where you need a dry, non-tacky surface. The limitation is abrasion resistance. High friction use wears the wax layer quickly. Monthly reapplication on working tools. Bow Shield T9 uses a paraffin wax formula that penetrates into fine metal pores and thread interfaces before curing to a dry, waxy barrier. Once fully cured and buffed, it does not attract shop dust, which makes it the correct choice for precision tools, woodworking equipment, and anything stored in a sawdust environment. Exceptional marine-grade weathering resistance. Reapply every 6 months under standard garage storage conditions. Fluid film is lanolin-based and never fully cures. It remains wet and self-healing, meaning it migrates across the metal surface to continuously reseal scratches and microabrasions. Outstanding for heavy shop equipment, stored machinery, and anything in a high-humidity, unconditioned environment. The trade-off is that the wet surface attracts fine particulate. Before you pick up a fluid film-treated tool, you're wiping it down. For idle storage, it is arguably the most effective barrier on this list. The audit conclusion: there is no single correct answer. There is only the correct answer for the specific tool, the specific environment, and the specific use frequency. 2 categories that almost never appear in tool maintenance content, and both will fail catastrophically if you miss the inspection window. Striking tools first. High-quality pry bars. And striking tools are not solid steel from tip to handle. Many premium designs use a composite or press-fit interface between the strike cap and the shaft. Over time, repeated impact loads can introduce micro-separation at that interface, invisible from the outside. The failure mode is internal handle fracturing under a strike load. The tool does not bend, it does not warn you, it fractures. The inspection protocol is a tool at both ends and apply a controlled flex load, not aggressive, just enough to feel for any play or movement at the strike cap interface. Any detectable movement means the tool is retired from striking applications immediately. It can still function as a lever. It cannot absorb impact. Torque wrenches. This is where the most expensive maintenance mistake in any serious shop happens. And it comes down to one misunderstood design difference. A split beam torque wrench maintains its calibration and storage because the mechanism is not under spring tension when at rest. You can store it at any setting without affecting accuracy. A micrometer click-type torque wrench uses a compressed spring to set the torque threshold. If you store that wrench at a working torque setting, say 100 foot-pounds, that spring is under continuous compression. Over months, the spring takes a set. It fatigues. And the next time you use that wrench, it is clicking at 94 foot-pounds, while the display reads 100. You are under-torquing critical fasteners on a suspension component, on a cylinder head, on a wheel hub. The protocol is non-negotiable. After every use, back the micrometer click-type torque wrench down to its lowest scale graduation. Do not back it off entirely past the bottom marker. Just return it to its baseline rated setting. This releases the internal spring tension and preserves calibration across the tool's full service life. This single habit is the difference between a torque wrench that stays accurate for 30 years and one that becomes a liability in 5. Let's close the audit with the decision most people get wrong: when to repair, when to warranty, and when to retire. The tool truck model exists for a reason. For a professional technician working flat rate, a broken tool is not an inconvenience. It is a direct loss of billable hours. The premium you pay for a Snap-on or Mac Tools account is not purely for the metallurgy. It is for the weekly on-site service, the over-the-counter instant swap, the zero downtime replacement model. If your income depends on your tools being operational at 7 a.m. Monday morning, that premium is justified. For everyone else, the advanced DIYer, the serious hobbyist, the weekend mechanic, the audit calculus is different. The question is not, is this tool broken? The question is, has the main structural body reached its duty cycle limit, or has a serviceable component failed? A ratchet head with a worn pal and intact body? Rebuild kit. A ratchet body with visible stress cracking at the drive square? Retire it. A torque wrench that clicks inconsistently after proper storage protocol? Send it for calibration before condemning it. A wrench with a rounded jaw from chronic over-torque? That is a user error, not a manufacturing failure, and no warranty covers physics. The auditor's rule: replace the component, not the tool, until the tool itself is the component that has failed. Here is the final audit finding. The most expensive tool in your shop is not the one with the highest price tag. It is the one that fails when you need it most. On a Sunday afternoon with the car on jack stands and no parts store open for 40 miles. Proper maintenance is not about sentimentality. It is not about keeping things clean because your grandfather told you to. It is a forensic confirmation that your tools are operating within their engineered parameters and that the investment you made is still delivering full return. Audit your tools. Audit the chemistry you use on them. Audit the corporate history of the brands you trust. We do that here. Every single video. If you want to stop paying logo premiums and start buying engineering, subscribe. The next audit is already in progress.